Howdy, everybody, and welcome to a fun-filled edition of Reviews where we're going to take a look at an Oscar-winning film. We never do this shit, but this movie actually did win an Academy Award for at least one or two people.
Just recently, yeah.
We're going to be talking about a modern-day masterpiece. Say some. Anora.
Directed by Sean Baker.
Why'd you do it like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You might appreciate that.
Mike Madison is in this sumbitch, and she, up until this point, the only thing I knew her from was the Tarantino movie and Scream. Was it 5?
Scream 8. She was in Scream 8.
Scream 8?
She was in one of them Scream movies.
Ain't no Scream 8. She was in Scream 5. I'm pretty sure she was like
5 Cream.
Yeah, 5 Cream. But, I mean, she didn't really have this was her breakout role. She'd never been really widely recognized as anything. Kind of came out of nowhere with this. And I got to say, I mean, it is pretty much a complete movie based on her performance.
She was in, she had a bit role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well.
Yeah, that's the Tarantino movie.
Wasn't she one of the Manson family in that or something like that? Just a small role. She
has a very small role at the middle and the end.
Tarantino was the one that kind of discovered her, though, right? Because that was 5 or 6 years ago, and she's still really, really young.
So she plays a stripper, and she works in a club. And one day, a Russian kid comes in, and she takes him around and kind of gives him a lap dance, and he's clearly got like a ton of money. And
it's the luck of the draw too, because she's like the only stripper that can halfway speak Russian.
That's right. Yeah, that's the gimmick. She's like the Russian stripper with a heart of gold, and she gives him her number, and then he eventually calls her. They start to hang out, and you come to find out that he is incredibly rich, something to do with his parents, and he's got a lot of money and a mansion, and so she starts going over there more and more. And meanwhile, she lives in like a little shitty place, like out in the middle of where are they at? New York or something? It looks like New York if it's not.
Yeah, it's the New York suburbs, Queens. Yeah.
And she lives in a little place there with her, I don't know if it's her sister, her family, something like that. And so eventually she talks him into like spending, it's an obscene amount of money, like $10,000 for a week or $15,000 for a week or something like that, for her to like come and just like stay with him. And they seem to really get along.
And they fuck like crazy.
They fuck constantly.
All about that, and you get to
he's all about that poos.
You get to see a lot of Mikey Madison in this, which is good. And it's almost like a takeoff on Pretty Woman.
It is, I think. It's, from what I can gather,
a realistic take.
Yeah, it's the version of Pretty Woman that they almost made but like didn't make. Yeah. Because like Hollywood knew that it would, at that point in time especially, like people would shit their pants.
The story basically is Anora, Annie is what they call her in this, is like so like overjoyed and happy. She has found her meal ticket. She's exclusive to Ivan. They end up getting married or whatever else. She is like, oh, I've hit the big time or whatever. She doesn't really know what type of character this Ivan is, which ultimately, I don't want to really spoil it or anything, but he's a fucking pussy, right? He's like totally controlled by his parents, won't stand up for himself or anything. I think his parents is part of like the Russian government or something like that, right? They're like big wigs in the Russian.
There's some sort of, I don't know what exactly they do, if they ever say what.
I don't think they explain it, but they're like big wigs in Russia. Like that's where all the money, comes from his parents. It's his parents' house they're staying in. Parents' cars, parents' money that he's spending, right?
Yep.
And he's pretty much in control of, nothing really. I mean, they're in control of everything. So at the end of the day, they find out about them getting married, and he runs off. It's like almost like a rat race with their cronies, the parents and everything, trying to track Ivan down, and the cronies are trying to kind of explain to Anora what kind of character he is, and she don't really want to hear none of it. She don't believe it, right? And it kind of just goes from there.
Yeah, the real trouble begins when they get married, and they get married in Vegas, and then you come to find out that, like, because he can get a green card, I guess, and he doesn't have to, like, go back to Russia. He doesn't want to go back to Russia, so he says. And so they get married, and then that's when the shit really hits the wall, because, like, there's another, like, his godfather who lives, I guess, in Russia or around there somewhere, comes to the U.S. looking for him, tries to find him, brings along these two henchmen. One of the henchmen is my favorite, like, person in the whole fucking movie.
The guy that always gets the shit beat out
It's
of
the
him.
guy that always gets the shit beat out of him, that actually turns out to be the best character in the movie. I think his name's Igor.
Yeah, those
Igor.
two guys together were very good. Like,
Yeah.
it was and it really is a comedy. I mean, whenever that sort of shit starts, it becomes like a totally different movie. Because you're thinking, like, probably the first half of the movie, it's going to be something that it ends up totally not being.
This is a character piece, right? It's a character study. There's really not a lot of stuff that, like, happens in it. It's one thing, right? It's them that get together, and then the second half of the movie is the family, like, trying to separate them. And I guess part of the twist that you find out comes at the end, when you really kind of figure out what kind of person that he is, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
sets up, like, the ending of the movie. Um,
And it's kind of almost like a non-ending too.
Well, I think the ending is actually the best part of the movie. Like, up until that ending, I was kind of like, there's nothing really that great about this movie. I mean, like, sure, it's good, but it's not great. Like, it's not, her performance is fine. She does a good job playing that role, but there was nothing in the movie where I was, like, blown away by it. It does have a frenetic kind of energy similar to, like, Uncut Gems, especially in the middle, where they're trying to, like, run around
Chaos,
and
yeah,
find him and all that stuff, and that's all going
chaos
on.
for
Yeah.
about 30 minutes of the movie.
So it's got that kind of energy, but, like, nothing, I don't know. But to me, the ending really, like, put in place, like, what that movie is really about, which is just damaged people and
She
this
realizes
damaged.
her place in life. We'll say
Yeah. And
that.
she realizes who she is and what she's doing, really, at the end of that movie.
She's a whore. She's a
Yeah.
fucking whore.
And there's just a scene that comes out of fucking nowhere at the end of it, like Mark's cocaine story. And you're just like, okay, number one, I didn't expect that. But number two, it's kind of the perfect ending of this to resolve this. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Because
I
all of that pent up shit that she's been dealing with kind of comes out.
Yeah, I did like this movie quite a bit. To be honest with you, I thought it was very well made, very well put together. Mikey Madison does a fantastic job in this. And I love Demi Moore in The Substance, but at the end of the day, if you're talking about straight up acting, like, she did a fantastic job in this. She held the entire movie together. Her
She is that
character.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her to me, and the guy that's the Igor guy. Like, there's really, like, everybody else is okay, but those two are the only real stars of that movie,
Yeah.
in
And
my
and
opinion.
she's in pretty much every scene in the entire movie, right? I mean, there's very few parts in this movie where that character is not in it. So this movie won 6 Academy Awards, including Best Actress, Best Director, Best Picture. Does it live up to the hype, though? What do you think about that?
Well, if the hype is like it's the greatest thing, like, it won 6 Academy Awards, right? I don't think it does. Like, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but there's just something missing from it that I don't know what it is.
Mozart's got he's got a good point here. We're so starved for anything good that people lose their shit when we get something good.
It's good, but is it classic? No. I mean,
Is it classic for 2024, 2025 though? You got to look at it that way, because movies today aren't like movies from 10 or 15 years ago even, you know. So
That's true.
I did enjoy it. Sean Baker is like, there's another movie that we're going to be reviewing that he did before this one called Red Rocket, which I don't want to spoil it or anything, but I actually enjoyed that movie more than Anora. But we'll be talking about that here in the next coming weeks. That was a request from our boy, Doomal, another patron request, oddly enough. Right Together, those guys requested these movies, and he did another movie that a lot of people rant and rave about called Tangerine from like 2015, I think.
Tangerine.
So I want to go watch Tangerine. I think Second Sight Films did a box set of it.
My name. What is that fucking Beavis and Butthead episode?
Tangerine.
This is there. Do you remember that episode with the two women they run into, and she's like, "My name's
I think so.
Tangerine." Yeah,
Tangerine.
the fucking classic. Anyway,
but yeah, I mean, Criterion, I think, is coming out with the physical media release of this. Of course, it's perfect. It fits right in with other Criterion releases. It's like a Criterion movie. But I did enjoy it for what it was. Is it the best thing since sliced bread? I don't know. It's okay. I will say that Mikey Madison's performance is great in it. She's the entire movie. She's the whole effing show. And this was an interesting one, a different one to watch.
yeah, I completely agree. And there's a lot of nudity, so that's cool. That's always good.
How's that Mikey Madison boy? Woo!
What the fuck?
Jailbait boy! Woo!
Too late. Too late.
So that is it, guys. We appreciate everybody checking the review out. More reviews coming up. More Sean Baker goodness coming up here in the next few days. And
Here, this whole time, I thought Sean Baker was that piece of shit that started in Land of the Dead. But that's
Simon Baker. That was his cousin.
That guy sucks.
We will catch you guys next time, though, over at DEADPIT. I want all these people to click everything they're supposed to click.
You haven't been liking them, you haven't been subscribing to them, you haven't clicked the bell or a notification or anything like that.
Folks, why don't you click the like button?
Do you hate us? Do you not want to see us succeed?
Why don't you click the heart button?
Is this something that you have against our particular show?
Why don't you subscribe?
You should click on one of them buttons right now if you want us to continue to breathe greatness into your life.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last South on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Special thanks goes out to our supporters on Patreon. You know what kind of stuff you can get on Patreon, Uncle Bill, starting at only $1 a month?
What's that?
Access to every Dead Pit show since 2005. We got almost 200 fan commentaries that we've done over the decades.
Here's what other fucking Patreons do. They're like, hey, give us money and then we'll let you see a video early that we're going to release like a fucking week from now, and then that's all we're going to give you. Meanwhile, we have a literal jukebox full of songs, thousands of reviews. I don't even know how many shows are up on there now that we've done over the years.
Hundreds of thousands.
You need to figure this out now and subscribe to us on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram. And help us to 1 million. The road to 1 million subscribers starts today.
So DeadPit on Patreon.com. Join today. Tiers start at only $1, but I'd recommend at least the $10 tier.
You can do 50. The stock market's crashing around us, folks, but send us money.